February 5th, 2016, 8:36 in the evening, Bangladesh Bank headquarters, Dhaka. A Hewlett-Packard LaserJet printer sits in a windowless room on the 7th floor. Every few minutes, it should spit out a record of money moving, millions of dollars flowing through the global SWIFT network that connects 11,000 banks across 200 countries. Tonight, the printer is silent. A security guard notices. He taps the machine, checks the paper tray, shrugs. It's Friday night in Dhaka. The weekend has begun. Someone from IT will look at it Monday. 7,000 miles away in New York, it's 9:36 in the morning. At the Federal Reserve Bank on Liberty Street in Manhattan, an automated system is processing what appears to be a routine batch of transfer requests from Bangladesh Bank. The requests are authenticated. The SWIFT codes check out. The digital signatures are valid. The system approves 5 transfers. $81 million begins moving toward the Philippines. 30 more transfers are queued. $850 million waiting to follow. But something is about to stop them. Not a firewall, not an algorithm, not a team of elite cybersecurity experts. A single spelling mistake. In a cramped office somewhere in Pyongyang, a team of hackers working for the most isolated regime on Earth has just pulled off one of the largest bank robberies in history. They've spent 13 months planning. They've infiltrated one of the most sensitive financial networks ever built. They've developed custom malware that no antivirus can detect, and they're about to discover that all their sophistication means nothing when someone types foundation instead of foundation. This is the story of how North Korea tried to steal $1 billion, and how a typo cost them everything. To understand how a starving nation became one of the most dangerous cyber powers on Earth, you have to go back to a moment of humiliation. September 19th, 2004, Ryugyong Hotel, Pyongyang. Kim Jong-il stares at a television screen showing satellite imagery. American reconnaissance photos, leaked to the press, reveal the skeletal frame of his unfinished 105-story hotel, a monument to North Korean ambition that has stood empty for 15 years. Western journalists call it the worst building in the world. The regime's attempt to project power has become a global punchline. In that moment, according to defector testimonies, Kim makes a decision. If North Korea cannot compete with the West in the physical world, in steel and concrete and aircraft carriers, it will compete in a world where size doesn't matter. The cyber world. By 2010, North Korea has established Bureau 121, a cyber warfare unit operating under the Reconnaissance General Bureau, the regime's primary intelligence agency. They recruit differently than Western tech companies. They don't post job listings. They identify mathematically gifted children as young as 11, pluck them from their families, and send them to specialized academies in Pyongyang. One of these children, according to U.S. intelligence assessments, was a young man who would later be identified as Park Jin-hyuk. Born around 1984, in a country where the average citizen earns less than $2,000 per year, Park showed exceptional aptitude for mathematics and computer science. By his late teens, he had been selected for Kim Il-sung University of Technology, the MIT of North Korea. His specialty, programming. But Park wasn't destined for Silicon Valley. He was destined for something far more lucrative. In 2011, he was assigned to Chosun Expo Joint Venture, a front company operating out of Dalian, China. On paper, Chosun Expo developed websites and mobile games. In reality, it was a forward operating base for Bureau 121, allowing North Korean hackers to work with reliable internet connections and access to global financial systems, without revealing their true location. Park spent his days writing code, but not for games. He was part of a team that would come to be known in cybersecurity circles as the Lazarus Group, named after the biblical figure who rose from the dead. The name was apt. Every time security researchers thought they'd identified and neutralized the group's tools, Lazarus would rise again, with new malware, new techniques, new targets. By 2014, Lazarus had announced itself to the world with a devastating attack on Sony Pictures Entertainment, Retaliation, for a comedy film mocking Kim Jong-un. The attack leaked executive emails, unreleased films, and employee personal data. It was embarrassing for Sony, but it was a proof of concept for something bigger. The Sony hack demonstrated that North Korean hackers could penetrate major American corporations. The question became, what if they targeted something more valuable than movies? What if they targeted money? The answer came in the form of a target so audacious, it seemed almost absurd. The central bank of a sovereign nation, connected directly to the nerve center of global finance. Bangladesh Bank held approximately $1 billion in reserves at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. That money was accessible through SWIFT, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, a messaging network that allows banks to send payment instructions to each other. SWIFT is not a payment system. It doesn't move money. It moves messages that tell other institutions to move money. And in 2015, SWIFT was considered virtually unhackable. Banks trusted it implicitly. That trust was about to be exploited. The first email arrived in January 2015. It looked like a job application. The subject line read, "Application for position," generic enough to catch the attention of human resources staff at Bangladesh Bank. The attachment was a Word document, seemingly containing a resume. One employee clicked. That single click gave Lazarus a foothold. The document contained a hidden script that installed a remote access Trojan, a piece of malware that opened a back door into the bank's network. The hackers were inside, but they didn't strike immediately. They waited. For 13 months, Lazarus operators conducted reconnaissance, with the patience of a predator studying its prey. They mapped the bank's internal network. They identified which computers had access to the SWIFT terminal. They watched employees log in and out, studying their schedules, their habits, their routines. The Bangladesh Bank network was remarkably easy to navigate. An internal security audit later revealed conditions that would horrify any cybersecurity professional. The bank had no dedicated firewall. Network switches were second-hand units, purchased for $10 each. The SWIFT terminal, the most sensitive system in the entire institution, was connected to the same network as ordinary office computers. It was like storing nuclear launch codes on a computer shared with the break room. By summer 2015, the hackers had learned everything they needed. They knew exactly which terminals processed SWIFT transactions. They knew the authentication credentials. They knew that the printer in the SWIFT room automatically logged every transaction. A paper trail. That would need to be eliminated. Now, they needed a way to get the money out. May 15, 2015. RCBC Bank, Jupiter Street Branch, Makati City, Philippines. 4 men with Chinese identification documents opened individual dollar accounts. Their names: Michael Francisco Cruz, Jesse Christopher Lagrosis, Alfred Santos Vergara, and Enrico Teodoro Vasquez. Each deposited $500, enough to activate the accounts, not enough to trigger suspicion. The branch manager who processed the applications was a 54-year-old career banker named Maya Santos de Guido. She had worked in Philippine banking for over 2 decades. She had never seen anything unusual about these accounts. The accounts sat dormant for 9 months. No deposits, no withdrawals, just 4 names, waiting in a database. Back in Dalian or Pyongyang, or wherever the hackers were operating from, the team was building their weapon. They called it evtdiag.exe. On the surface, it looked like a legitimate Windows diagnostic tool. In reality, it was a masterpiece of malicious code, designed to do 3 things: intercept SWIFT messages before they printed, modify the local database to hide transactions, and delete evidence of its own existence. The malware was tailored specifically for Bangladesh Bank's environment. It knew exactly where to look, exactly what to change, exactly how to cover its tracks. This wasn't an off-the-shelf hacking tool. It was bespoke. By January 2016, everything was in place. The hackers had access. They had destination accounts. They had their weapon. Now they needed to choose the perfect moment. The SWIFT network operates 24 hours a day, but the banks on each end do not. A transfer request from Bangladesh to New York has to travel through multiple time zones, each with its own operating hours, its own weekends, its own holidays. Lazarus identified a window of vulnerability, February 4th through 8th, 2016. On February 4th, it would be Thursday evening in Bangladesh. The weekend was beginning. Staff would be going home. On February 5th, it would be Friday in New York. The Fed would be operating with reduced weekend staff. On February 8th, it would be Chinese New Year in the Philippines. Banks would be closed for the holiday. The timing meant that any stolen funds would have a 72-hour head start before anyone could respond. By the time Bangladesh Bank opened on Sunday and discovered the theft, the money would already be in Manila. By the time Philippine banks opened after Chinese New Year, the money would be gone. 13 months of preparation, 4 dormant accounts, 1 piece of custom malware, a 72-hour window. At 8 p.m. Bangladesh time on February 4th, 2016, someone, sitting in front of a computer in China or North Korea or somewhere in between, initiated the attack. The printer on the 7th floor of Bangladesh Bank headquarters went silent. If you're realizing that one of the most sophisticated cyber attacks in history was about to be foiled by a single misspelled word, you're not alone. I had to read the source documents 3 times to believe it. Hit subscribe if you want to see how a typo saved almost $1 billion. Because what happens next proves that sometimes the best security system is a human being who paid attention in spelling class. February 5th, 2016, 8:36 p.m. Bangladesh Standard Time, 9:36 a.m. in New York. The first Swift message leaves Bangladesh Bank's terminal. To anyone monitoring the system, it looks completely legitimate. The authentication codes are valid, the formatting is correct, the digital signatures match. The message instructs the Federal Reserve Bank of New York to transfer $20 million from Bangladesh Bank's reserve account to an account at RCBC Bank in the Philippines. Beneficiary name, Jesse Christopher Lagrosis. 4 minutes later, a second message. Another 20 million. Different beneficiary, Alfred Santos Vergara. Then a third, a fourth, a fifth. Over the next 70 minutes, 35 Swift messages flow from Dhaka to New York. 35 requests totaling $951 million. Nearly the entire balance of Bangladesh Bank's Federal Reserve account. The Fed's automated systems begin processing. The first 5 requests pass initial screening. The money begins moving. At RCBC Jupiter Street in Manila, it's 11:36 a.m. on a Friday. Branch manager Maya Santos de Guido receives notification of incoming transfers to accounts that have been dormant for 9 months. $81 million is about to land in her branch. Standard banking protocol requires holding periods for large international transfers. Time for compliance teams to verify the source of funds, check for suspicious activity, ensure everything is legitimate. These transfers arrive with urgent instructions. Release immediately. Later, de Guido would claim she was following orders from superiors. Investigators would claim she was complicit. What is certain is that she waived the holding periods. The money became accessible almost immediately. By 3 p.m. Manila time, representatives of the account holders begin arriving at the branch. They're not the 4 men who opened the accounts. They're proxies, intermediaries sent to collect cash and cashier's checks. Over the next 48 hours, $81 million flows out of RCBC Jupiter Street. Some of it goes to a remittance company owned by a Chinese-Filipino businessman named Kim Wong. Some of it goes directly to Solaire Resort and Casino in Manila's Entertainment City District. Why casinos? In February 2016, Philippine casinos were exempt from anti-money laundering laws. You could walk in with a briefcase of cash, convert it to chips, play a few hands of baccarat, cash out, and walk away with clean money that couldn't be traced to its source. Kim Wong operated as a junket agent, a middleman who brings high rollers to casinos in exchange for commissions. He received approximately $29 million of the stolen funds. The chips were played, the chips were cashed. The money disappeared into a network of offshore accounts. But back in New York, something is going wrong. The Fed's automated screening system has flagged 30 of the 35 transfer requests. The reason? The routing instructions include the word Jupiter, which happens to be the name of an Iranian cargo vessel on the US sanctions list. It's a coincidence. The hackers chose RCBC Jupiter Street because it was a small branch with a cooperative manager. They had no idea that Jupiter would trigger automated sanctions screening. The flag transfers are kicked to a human reviewer. 30 transfers, totaling $850 million, are put on hold, pending manual approval. By the time a Fed analyst gets to them, it will be too late. The weekend will have passed. Bangladesh Bank will have discovered the theft. The transfers will never be approved. But there's one more problem. One transfer isn't going to the Philippines at all. $20 million is destined for the Shalika Foundation in Sri Lanka, a non-profit supposedly engaged in development work. The transfer request is routed through Deutsche Bank in Germany, which serves as an intermediary. At Deutsche Bank, a compliance officer is reviewing the transaction. Something looks wrong. The beneficiary field reads, Shalika Foundation. Foundation, not foundation. Foundation. The compliance officer pauses. It could be a simple typo. Banks process thousands of transfers daily, and misspellings happen. But $20 million is a lot of money to send to an organization that can't spell its own name. The officer sends a query back to Bangladesh Bank. Please confirm beneficiary details. That query sits in an inbox over the weekend, but it's enough. The transfer is flagged. It will never go through. Meanwhile, in Dhaka, the Swift terminal has gone quiet. The malware has done its job, intercepting print commands, modified database records, covering tracks. The printer that should have been spitting out transaction confirmations all night hasn't produced a single page. On the 7th floor, a security guard checks on the machine. The paper tray is full. The power is on. The display shows no errors. He shrugs. Printers malfunction all the time. He goes home. The weekend passes. $81 million moves through Manila's casinos. 30 transfers sit in a Fed queue, awaiting approval that will never come. One query about a misspelled word waits in an inbox. And 13,000 kilometers away, in a country with no extradition treaty and no functioning internet for ordinary citizens, a team of hackers waits. They think they've stolen $951 million. They're about to find out they've stolen $81 million and expose themselves in the process. February 9th, 2016, 9:15 a.m., Bangladesh Bank, Dhaka. The weekend is over. Staff return to their desks. Somewhere on the 7th floor, an IT technician is dispatched to look at the malfunctioning printer. He finds nothing wrong with the hardware. The paper is loaded, the toner is full. So he does what IT technicians do. He reboots the system. The printer whirs to life and begins printing. Page after page after page. Transfer confirmations, 35 of them, dated February 5th. $951 million in outgoing transfers. The technician stares at the pages. His hands begin shaking. He runs to find a supervisor. Within an hour, the 7th floor is in chaos. Officials are screaming at each other in Bengali. Someone is trying to reach the Federal Reserve. Someone else is calling Swift headquarters in Belgium. Governor Atiur Rahman is pulled from a meeting. He reads the transfer confirmations. The color drains from his face. $850 million is sitting in a Fed queue, flagged but not approved. If Bangladesh Bank acts fast, those transfers can be canceled. But $81 million is already gone, into the Philippines, into the casinos, into the wind. The governor makes a decision that will end his career. He decides to keep the heist secret. For 5 weeks, Bangladesh Bank attempts to quietly recover the funds, without informing the government, the public, or the press. They send frantic messages to RCBC. They contact Philippine authorities. They hire investigators. It doesn't work. On March 10th, the story leaks. The world's media descends on Dhaka. Within days, the governor is forced to resign. But the real investigation is just beginning. Cybersecurity firms are brought in to analyze the bank's systems. They find the malware, evtdiag.exe, still sitting on the Swift terminal. They trace its code signatures. They find something disturbing. The code shares DNA with malware used in the Sony Pictures hack of 2014. Same programming techniques, same encryption methods, same telltale errors. The trail leads to one place, North Korea. On September 6, 2018, the U.S. Department of Justice announces the indictment of Park Jin-hyuk, a North Korean citizen, for conspiracy to commit wire fraud and computer crimes in connection with the Bangladesh bank heist, the Sony Pictures attack, and the WannaCry ransomware attack that paralyzed hospitals and businesses worldwide. Park is charged in absentia. He will never be arrested. He remains in North Korea, protected by a regime that denies any involvement, while simultaneously bragging about its cyber capabilities. The criminal complaint runs to 179 pages. It details server logs, email trails, and code analysis, connecting Park to front companies in China, servers in Malaysia, and operations spanning half a decade. But here's what the indictment doesn't include: anyone from the Philippines. Maya Santos de Guido, the branch manager who processed $81 million in suspicious transfers, is eventually convicted by Philippine courts. She receives a sentence of 32 to 56 years. She maintains her innocence, claiming she was following orders from superiors at RCBC. Kim Wong, the junket operator who received $29 million, returns $15 million under pressure from investigators. He flees to Macau. He is never prosecuted. The four men who opened the original accounts, Cruz, Lagrosis, Vergara, Vasquez, don't exist. Their identification documents were forged. The names lead nowhere. And the money? Of the $81 million stolen, approximately $18 million has been recovered as of 2023. The rest, $63 million, has vanished into a network of shell companies, cryptocurrency exchanges, and offshore accounts that no investigator has been able to penetrate. North Korea doesn't acknowledge the theft, but defector testimonies and intelligence assessments estimate that the Lazarus Group has stolen over $2 billion through cyber operations since 2015, enough to fund approximately 10% of the regime's nuclear weapons program. The hackers who couldn't spell foundation correctly still won. They just didn't win as much as they planned. The Bangladesh bank heist changed everything. Within 6 months, SWIFT launched its customer security program. Mandatory security controls for every bank connected to the network, air-gapped terminals, multi-factor authentication, transaction monitoring. The days of $10 switches and no firewalls were over. The Philippine Congress passed legislation bringing casinos under anti-money laundering laws. For the first time, the loophole that allowed $81 million to be laundered through baccarat tables was closed. But Lazarus didn't stop. In May 2017, the group unleashed WannaCry, a ransomware attack that encrypted computers across 150 countries, demanding Bitcoin payments for decryption keys. Hospitals in the United Kingdom were forced to cancel surgeries. The total damage exceeded $4 billion. In 2022, Lazarus stole $620 million from Ronin Network, a blockchain platform connected to the video game Axie Infinity. It was the largest cryptocurrency theft in history. The attacks keep coming. North Korea has transformed from a nuclear pariah dependent on coal exports into a cyber superpower capable of robbing banks, hospitals, and tech companies from the safety of Pyongyang. Park Jin-hyuk, if that is his real name, remains uncharged, unpunished, and presumably still working. The FBI has him on their cyber most wanted list. The reward for information leading to his arrest is $5 million. No one expects to collect it. Maya Santos de Guido sits in a Philippine prison serving her sentence. She is 62 years old. If she serves the minimum term, she will be released in 2051, at the age of 89. Kim Wong lives somewhere in Asia, reportedly in Macau, beyond the reach of Philippine courts. Governor Atiur Rahman lives quietly in Dhaka. He has never been charged with any crime. Bangladesh Bank has recovered $18 million, 22% of what was stolen. Legal proceedings against RCBC continue, and the Lazarus Group has moved on to bigger targets. In the world of cybercrime, $81 million is pocket change. The 2022 cryptocurrency heists alone netted North Korea over $1 billion. The tools developed for Bangladesh have been refined, improved, deployed against targets that make a central bank look like a candy store. The printer on the 7th floor of Bangladesh Bank headquarters works fine now. The malware was removed. The systems were upgraded. The staff received training. But somewhere in the world, another printer is probably falling silent. Another network is probably compromised. Another employee is probably clicking on an attachment they shouldn't have opened. And somewhere in North Korea, someone is probably typing very, very carefully, making sure they spell every word correctly. this time. There's an old saying in cybersecurity: attackers only have to be right once. Defenders have to be right every time. But Bangladesh taught us the opposite is also true. Attackers have to be right every time too. Every line of code, every forged document, every transfer request, every spelling. The Lazarus Group spent 13 months building the perfect heist. They infiltrated a sovereign central bank. They developed custom malware. They choreographed an attack across 3 time zones, with precision that would impress a military strategist. And they lost $870 million because someone typed an A instead of an O. It's tempting to laugh, to see this as a victory for the little guy, the compliance officer at Deutsche Bank who noticed something wrong, the automated system that flagged a coincidental word, the printer that finally came back online. But here's the uncomfortable truth. They still got away with it. North Korea stole $81 million from one of the poorest countries on Earth. That money is gone. It funded missiles, or nuclear research, or the lifestyles of party elites in Pyongyang. And nobody went to prison, not really. A branch manager in Manila, some minor functionaries. But the people who planned it, who executed it, who profited from it, they're untouchable. In the end, the Bangladesh heist isn't a story about a typo. It's a story about what happens when a nation-state decides that the rules of international finance don't apply to them. We built a global financial system based on trust. SWIFT works because banks trust each other to authenticate messages honestly. The Bangladesh hackers didn't break SWIFT. They broke the trust. And trust, unlike $81 million, can't be recovered. If you want to see what happened when these same hackers decided to hold the entire world hostage, watch how Lazarus unleashed WannaCry, a ransomware attack that shut down hospitals, paralyzed governments, and proved that North Korea's cyber army was just getting started. The moment a British security researcher accidentally stopped the attack is one of the luckiest breaks in internet history, and the ending will change how you think about every email attachment you've ever opened.